Are you tired of chasing the one you love, sending countless messages begging for a conversation, and constantly feeling drained by endless silence? In today's video, we're unlocking a completely different key. Instead of forcing them to open up, become the most peaceful version of yourself, and let them come to you willingly. Discover how to turn the void from a battleground into fertile ground for genuine connection. From neuroscience insights and attachment theory to compelling real-life stories, you'll gain the tools to transform emotional energy so that the avoidant no longer wants to hide away. Stop trying every trick to convince them to show their feelings. Instead, build a safe space, respect boundaries, and quietly uphold your self-worth. You'll learn why silence isn't a weapon but a powerful language that awakens courage in them. And you'll uncover the secret to making them text first, take the initiative to meet, and shoulder the responsibility of connection not because you've bargained for it, but because you've created an energy field they want to be part of. If you're ready to leave behind exhaustion and self-doubt and embrace a more mature, fulfilling approach to love, don't look away. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications right now so you don't miss any strategies that help you confidently hold your relationship. And stick with us until the end of the video to uncover the final and most transformative secret that can turn every distance into an unbreakable bond. Have you ever spent hours glued to your phone, silently watching the seen indicator on your messaging app, telling yourself, "They must be busy, I'll wait a little longer"? You take the initiative to send the first text, inquire about every tiny detail of their day, and carefully explain yourself so as not to come across as too much. Sometimes you even sacrifice your own needs, canceling a night out with friends or postponing a passion project just to devote all your time and emotional energy to them. You believe that as long as you are thoughtful, meticulous, and patient, they will eventually recognize your sincerity and start opening up, proactively nurturing the connection. Yet the reality falls far short of your hopes. The more carefully you craft each message, the slower their replies become. The more heartfelt your explanations, the more they retreat into silence. When you step back to give them space, they never come to you, making you wonder if your withdrawal cost you the opportunity. In your most desperate moments, you may even feel they are ignoring your sweetest inquiries and genuine concerns. A wave of disappointment crashes over you whenever the screen shows "seen without replied." You thrash about in their silence like a swimmer adrift in a vast ocean, hopelessly waiting for a life preserver that never comes. In that moment, a barrage of questions swirls in your mind. Am I doing too much? Am I being too needy? Has my devotion become pressure, pushing them even further away? The fatigue you experience isn't just from waiting, but from the profound confusion of losing sight of yourself amid endless sacrifices and fruitless efforts. Your emotions shift from disappointment to frustration, then to self-blame, and finally to utter bewilderment because you have no clue what they might be thinking. According to Bowlby's attachment theory, individuals with a dismissive avoidant attachment style retreat when faced with emotional pressure. However, few recognize that this retreat stems not from indifference but from a lack of safety and vulnerability. The more desperately you try to forge a connection, the more they perceive it as a threat to their cherished autonomy. They trigger a flight response, running away from emotional pressure and refusing to share vulnerability to maintain control. This dynamic traps you in a spiral of self-doubt. You not only question their behavior, but also begin to doubt your own worth. Am I missing something? Am I worthy of their attention? It is at this point that the true pain becomes clear, both the disappointment of unmet expectations and the crushing sense of worthlessness. Every message you send becomes an unspoken plea, and you become the loser in a pursuit you once believed was meant to capture their heart. When you examine how individuals with dismissive avoidant attachment operate in relationships, you see that they are not incapable of love. They lack the essential sense of safety that would allow them to open their hearts. Early childhood experiences leave deep imprints on their subconscious interaction patterns, showing vulnerability equals risk, depending on others equals loss of autonomy. Thus, they learn to isolate themselves, turning love, the very thing that should unite us, into a source of alarm. John Bowlby's attachment theory clearly indicates that early secure or insecure bonds with caregivers shape one's later relational beliefs. Avoidant children often faced inconsistent emotional support, sometimes affection, sometimes distance, leaving them uncertain whether they were accepted or rejected. They learn to suppress emotional needs, overdevelop self-reliance, and maintain distance to guard against insecurity. Though they can excel at self-care, that self-sufficiency becomes a barrier between them and genuine intimacy. As adults, avoidants carry the belief that closeness means vulnerability, and even if intellectually they want to share, their bodies and nervous systems reflexively shout, "Defend, WVS." Stephen Porges's polyvagal theory elucidates the physiological underpinnings of this behavior. When avoidants sense emotional pressure, a caring question, a flurry of messages, a sudden display of affection, their parasympathetic nervous system triggers a shutdown response. The body withdraws and the mind temporarily closes off, conserving energy and protecting against perceived threat. This is not heartless coldness, but a survival tactic, much like a hedgehog curling into a defensive ball. When you, with the best intentions, send repeated messages or prodding questions, your caring acts become predatory signals to their nervous system. Instead of drawing them close, you inadvertently push them further into their shell, as their brain strives to balance the desire for connection with the fear of engulfment. Moreover, avoidants often hold a core belief that love equals loss of freedom. Having witnessed overly enmeshed relationships, perhaps in early family dynamics, they guard fiercely against any perceived intrusion. Even in the warmest relationships, they keep a corner for themselves to ensure no one can commandeer their mind or heart. If a loved one steps too close, they equate it with control and instinctively pull away. They go silent, dodge calls, or feign busyness. This is not a sign of disinterest, but a cry for unthreatened autonomy. Psychologically, this dynamic plays out in a cycle of pursue, withdrawal, pursue. You chase, they retreat. You chase more, they retreat further. It becomes a loop of validating your worth through relentless effort. You do more, give more, sacrifice more, yet still face silence. Recognizing that this stemmed from an underlying lack of internal safety helps you see that the harder you try, the more you inadvertently trigger old wounds around vulnerability. The wounds of not knowing when or if it was ever safe to love. A deeper exploration reveals another layer. Avoidants may truly crave emotional sharing but don't know how to regulate themselves without triggering fear. Every time you ask, "Are you okay?" they perceive a spike in pressure, closing down. But if you simply remain calmly present without push, without judgment, they gain the space to lower their guard. By respecting their need for space, you are effectively telling their brain, "It is safe here," allowing them to relearn the rhythm of give and take. This realization is revolutionary. When love stops being a battlefield and becomes a sanctuary, avoidants will come forward on their own. They do not require you to change them. They require you to demonstrate through consistency and respect that freedom and safety can coexist. When they finally sense that, the walls they erected over decades will begin to let in light, creating a genuine pathway for mutual trust and connection. Do you remember those times you struggled to keep the relationship alive, pouring all your energy into every greeting, every message reminding, "Are you okay? I miss you," then watching as the ellipsis appears and disappears only to disappoint you again? You might have thought that if you were caring enough, self-sacrificing enough, patient enough, they simply couldn't walk away. Yet the paradox is that this very attentiveness and effort you pour out has made them unnecessary to take the lead. They can sit back because you have done everything for them, planning the meetups, sparking the conversations, soothing the sadness, easing their fears. Now consider this. They don't initiate because you have been doing their part. You pause because most of us in love believe our role is to try harder, nurture deeper, to shield the other person. But love isn't a battle of unconditional sacrifice. It's sharing responsibility. Each time you overcompensate, you accidentally create a false sanctuary in which the avoidant has no need to step up. Here and now, think differently. When you withdraw your clinging energy, when you no longer bear their burdens for them, you do not lose them. You only lose the illusion that you must do it all. Abruptly, you grant them the space to become active themselves. The moment you stop mass texting, stop anxiously probing how they feel, stop trying to justify every minor detail, you open a genuine void. In that void, there is no clamor of obsession, no pressure of unmet expectations, only meaningful silence. The core insight is simple yet profound. It's not when you add more affection that they lead. It's when you stop controlling that they finally have room to appear. They don't need you to transform them. They need space where they don't have to guard against your intentions. When you reach into the past, they retreat deeper. When you cast off all hope, they drown in fear. But when you let go, they look up to the promise of freedom. We know letting go is never easy. You'll feel a void. You'll question your worth. You'll panic. Am I abandoning the relationship? But in truth, that is the first step toward protecting your boundaries. It's like teaching a child. If you never let them do things for themselves, they never learn to stand. In love, if you remain the savior, your partner gets used to your constant presence and no longer needs to strive. What you give, peace, steadiness, respect for boundaries, is priceless. When you stop the chase, you aren't drowning in anxiety. You preserve your energy to observe the relationship from a clearer vantage. No longer trapped in the cycle of wait, hope, cling, you shift to stand firm, observe, honor yourself. And from that position, you extend an authentic invitation. If you want, you can choose to initiate. Moving from blame to insight isn't ignoring pain, but seeing the underlying dynamics. Instead of demanding, why won't they initiate? Ask, have I unconsciously prevented their initiative? You might hear them every moment, but the truest listening often happens in silence when you provide space for them to speak. In that void, they no longer feel observed, judged, or coerced. They sense, this relationship is built on respect, not on control. From there, they feel the freedom to experiment with leadership, messaging first, suggesting plans, inquiring about your well-being, sharing their schedule. They don't act because you begged, but because they wish to affirm themselves. Once they take initiative, you witness a new version of them, free of hesitation, beyond defense mechanisms, opening up with genuine confidence. You no longer push, they step into your arms willingly. That marks true transformation. Both parties share responsibility instead of you futilely struggling to salvage what you once believed meant to win hearts. In conclusion, the turning point doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from daring to let go. By releasing, you don't carry another burden of pain. You create the opportunity for a balanced partnership. You empower them to initiate love, and concurrently, you empower yourself to be respected and cherished. It is that respectful space that becomes the genesis of authentic connection, where initiating and being initiated no longer weigh heavy, but become the harmonious rhythm of love. When you stop seeking to be chosen, you begin to radiate steadiness that the avoidant feels safe next to. And right then, they start to initiate. Healing isn't just about forgetting past wounds. It's about restoring your self-worth and re-establishing safety in connection. Avoidants do not respond to words or logic. They respond to the emotional energy field you emanate. When that energy is stable and calm, they dare to lower their defenses and move forward. Radiating inner strength. The first step in healing is turning inward, reconnecting with your true desires. What do I truly want? What do I deserve in love? Practices like journaling, mindful meditation, or sunrise contemplation solidify the conviction that you were whole to begin with, needing no one else to validate your worth. Once you stabilize your inner world, your energy no longer wavers with external changes. Whether they retreat or advance, you maintain calm. Avoidants, with their hypersensitivity, will detect this steady presence. Without your pleas, they recognize you as a safe anchor, not a source of anxiety. Remaining calm amidst turmoil. Avoidants often test your composure through small disruptions, slow replies, canceled dates, silent days. Instead of reacting with panic or anger, practice steadfast calm. Breathe deeply. Ask yourself with curiosity, could there be a misunderstanding? How can I respect their need for space? These reflections guide you back to resolute compassion, untouched by their fluctuation. Your calmness acts as a mooring buoy. When avoidants observe your unshaken presence, their survival reflexes soften. They understand that while they may pull back, you remain not to judge, but to wait. That is the gentlest invitation, prompting them to step onto the ground of connection. 3. Establishing healthy boundaries. Healing also requires you to set and protect boundaries. Boundaries are not cold walls, but acts of respect for both your needs and theirs. For example, I respect your need for space. If I don't hear from you in 3 days, I'll focus on my own life until you reach out. Such clarity conveys love without tolerance for mistreatment. When avoidants see your boundaries hold firm, they feel safer. They no longer fear inadvertently harming you, laying the foundation for renewed engagement. Boundaries reflect maturity. You know what you want and possess the resolve to defend it. 4. Creating a gentle listening space. After boundaries, nurture an attentive listening space, a realm where you welcome without judgment. Lower expectations for verbal declarations. Instead, tune into body language, tone, and meaningful silences. A simple inquiry, "How are you feeling today?" can convey genuine concern free of pressure. Consistent presence in this listening space fosters trust. Avoidants gradually shed their armor, sharing emotions not through persuasion, but because they feel understood. 5. Encouraging their initiative. Healing heralds the value of their small, proactive steps. When they text first, propose a walk, or check on you, respond with genuine appreciation. Avoid overreactions. A simple, "I'm really glad you reached out," suffices. That acknowledgement is a reward for their courage, encouraging them to keep initiating. 6. Reflecting on the journey with pride. Finally, healing is retrospective. Honor your transformation from confusion and fatigue to calm and strength. Take pride in how you preserved self-worth and fostered a healthy relationship. You not only provided avoidance a safe haven, but rediscovered yourself someone who doesn't chase, but remains worthy of love. Ultimately, you have traversed the path from hopelessly chasing silence to understanding the avoidance psychological mechanisms, then moving into the phase of inner healing and creating a safe space. Each step was not only a treatment for your relationship, but also a lesson in how to love yourself. 1. Love yourself before loving others. First and foremost, you realize that the energy of love cannot be borrowed or forced from anyone. When you stand firm in your own worth, unshaken by others' responses, you emit a vibration strong enough to attract genuine connection, rather than pity or pressure. This is the foundation of any lasting bond. 2. Peace, not silence or conflict, is the key. There is a misconception that silence is a form of punishment, or that conflict is the only way to make someone look back. In reality, your inner peace is the clearest message. I am steadfast, I am worthy, and I will not respond with suffering. When you choose silence from a place of calm autonomy, that silence is no longer a weapon, but a sincere invitation. Tiga, respecting boundaries builds trust. Boundaries are not walls that isolate, but pillars that support the relationship. When you dare to say, "This is my limit," you are not pushing the other person away. On the contrary, you ensure mutual respect. After moving through this stage of boundary setting, both of you learn the lessons of responsibility and seriousness in love. 4. Healing is ongoing, not a one-time event. Love is a journey, not a destination. Your inner healing must be sustained daily through emotional regulation, energy balance, and reminding yourself that your value does not depend on anyone else. Each day, you have the right to continue being grateful to yourself for daring to let go, to trust, to uphold your boundaries, and to move forward in peace. 5. When trust is restored, initiative returns. Finally, the most important outcome you gain is a fresh start, not one rooted in fear or exhaustion, but in trust and hope. When an avoidant senses your autonomy and peace, they will willingly step out of their old comfort zone, and in doing so, they choose you. They no longer hide away. They dare to stand beside you, to become your partner, and to actively renew the relationship. Remember, true love does not demand absolute sacrifice. It requires equality, respect, and steadfastness. When you stop chasing someone to earn the privilege of being chosen, you compose your own melody, a melody powerful enough to invite the right person to harmonize with you. That is freedom, the freedom to love and be loved, to take the initiative and to be met in return, to be yourself without fear of risk. May you always find peace in your heart. Dare to uphold your own boundaries, and dare to open your heart at the right time. When you do, love is no longer a frantic race, but a grand journey of two souls meeting in freedom and respect.